Welcome back to the Canadian Music Expo Spring Equinox Edition. It is the first day of spring, hence the name Spring Equinox Edition. Really happy to be joined by Karl Wolf. Great career we're going to talk about. Karl's music and achievements and inspirations and so on. If you have any questions you want to ask Karl, just throw them in the right-hand side in the either the event or the stage, and I can moderate from them from there. And just really excited to be joined. Karl, thanks for taking some time out of your busy day and schedule to be on today's event. Karl, anything you want to talk about right off the bat?
First of all, I want to say thank you for having me, and thanks for everyone who's watching. And it's a tough time that we're going through right now, so we're almost out of it. So everybody hang in there, and we're gonna have a beautiful life very soon.
Absolutely, I love the excitement. So you're Lebanese Canadian. You're based in Montreal, and you've been a singer, songwriter, producer since 2001. You released your first solo album, Face Behind the Face, in 2006, and then a second album in 2007. So kind of let's go back in time to the early days and kind of growing up, and did you have some inspiration? Where did the music part come from you as you were growing up?
Well, I live in Toronto now, so I've been in Toronto for about 11, 12 years. But when I first started, so I was born in Beirut, Lebanon, left because of the civil war at the time. My parents left when we were 3 years old. Pretty much went to Dubai, graduated high school in Dubai, came to Canada to further my studies. I went to Montreal, I went to Concordia University. So that's that part of my life. I studied film, Bachelor of Fine Arts. And then from there, I just started getting into, music. My parents were both musicians, and I loved, I started producing artists. That's how I started off in the industry as a producer, songwriter, and got a bunch of awards for doing that in Quebec, and then moved on to being a solo artist, and the rest is history.
Excellent. So and we'll talk about your parents as well, because they were also musicians, like you said. So how did it, we have people who are music fans who watch, and we also have musicians who are sometimes starting their career or have progressed who come to our events.
Yeah.
So talk about, you're starting, you got the idea, you want to be a musician.
Yeah.
Who do you call? Who do you talk to? What would the steps be?
Exactly, the million-dollar questions. The way it worked for me, I think it stems from real passion for loving, waking up every single day, having a dream and a vision. I think that's kind of, in whatever field you're in, it just happened to be music. I loved the way music made people feel. I think that's mainly why I got into it. I realized that beyond other things, even a doctor is interesting because you can heal people, but there's something about being a musician and making music that it's almost always positive, almost always. You understand? There's no negativity with that. It's pretty much the best business in the world if you can succeed in it and make it work. So I would wake up every morning very excited. I was studying film studies at university. I wanted to be a filmmaker. I love the entertainment world, but there's something about music. And from one thing to another, a friend of mine, the way I got my break essentially was a friend of mine heard my voice, and he thought I could sing, and asked me to join this, to do this casting for this trip hop group at the time, kind of like Massive Attack, Portishead, that sort of trip hop music. I wasn't into it really, but I auditioned anyways, and I got the part right away. And the way they would pay me, they couldn't afford to pay me whatever for singing. So what they would do is they would give me the graveyard shift at the studio from 11 at night or 12 at night till 5 in the morning to just, not even to teach me how to use it, just to be in there. You could do whatever you want. And then I started making my own demos doing that. And then I came up with my first solo project, and it was crazy. It's been a crazy ride.
So you've had certain points in time that you can kind of pinpoint and say, if not for this, that kind of pivoted me or propelled me in the right direction at that point.
There was several moments that kept on. There were several tiers that I kept on hitting, milestones. One of them was that was probably the first one. A second one was when I met Antoine from Sky, Antoine Sicotte from Sky, from the group Sky. We were working on a project called Gabriel de Trois Maisons. It's a French artist, and I got asked by Nick Carboni, who's a big major music executive in Quebec, heard my voice, and he was like, "Yo, I'd love you to work with my artist, as a duet." He loved my voice, but then when he heard my songs, he was like, "Yo, what about these 3 songs? Can you produce them for her? Forget about you as an artist, just as a producer." I'm like, because my dream is to be an artist, right? So I'm like, whatever, fine, I'll do it, because I know it's going to further my career. At that point, we produced the album for her. I did 3 songs on the album. The second single was mine. First single was Antoine from Sky. And he heard my stuff and he was like, "Yo, who's this guy, Karl Wolf, giving me competition, So one day he came into the studio, met me, and he was like, "Man, I love I love what you're doing." I'm like, "Cool." And then he's like, "Yo," so at the time they were having issues with his lead singer. I don't know if you remember James from Sky, the blonde guy. Unfortunately, he passed away 2 years ago, or last year, actually, by suicide. Really, really sad. So, but he asked me to replace him, something like that. And that was another, big step in my life. That was a milestone right there. So I became the lead singer for Sky at that point. And from then on, another big major milestone, with my solo career after Sky as well. So, there's a lot of little wins that got me to where I am today. It's not just all one shot. It wasn't like just Africa, my big hit, just became something big. It was little tiny, maybe 7, 8 little milestones that got me to #1 on Billboard.
Excellent. Yeah. So you did the, you co-wrote and produced, co-produced Sky's album Picture Perfect.
Yeah.
And that got a lot of airplay across Canada. Yeah. And then you guys did a reality TV show in Quebec, right?
Yes. So that was right around that time. One of the biggest, TV shows, actually the biggest Quebec album was Star Academy, which I was part of, and I was part of producing, and we co-wrote the first single. That single was a game changer because it was called, I don't know if you speak French, but Je veux changer le monde means I want to change the world. And that was the first single on the first Star Academy installment album. It went 5 times platinum. And there was one moment that I remember very distinctively. I was at the Bell Center in Montreal, huge, 27,000 people, 20,000 people. They were performing, and I was there invited as, obviously the producer and, one of the co-producers and writers. And they told me, "Karl, you can come backstage. We give you a pass." I'm like, "No, man, I want to watch it from the audience, So I sat down in the audience, just randomly in the middle, sort of in the middle with all the fans. And then my song came on at the end, at the finale, and the song that I co-wrote, and the whole stadium stood up and was singing my song that we wrote, and it just felt, but nobody knew it was me. So it was that moment that kind of triggered me to say, you know what, I got to go solo. I need to express my own music, write it, produce it, and sing it and perform it. And that was when I made the move to solo.
Yeah, and that album, Star Academy, the album was the biggest selling album in Canada in 2003, right?
Yeah, and it was 500,000. And that's a lot of albums. That's Canada,
a lot in Canada.
That's huge.
And that got you SOCAN Award for Most Popular Song. The Star Academy 2 sequel in 2004 was another big success, right? And that album went double platinum.
Yeah, we sold 3 times platinum on that. I think it sold 300,000 from what I remember, or 280, very close. But yeah.
Wow. That's huge. Like in Canada, like you said, those are massive numbers, right?
Yeah, we were lucky. I'm contributed to being lucky, and I don't know,
So in 2005, you went into your solo career and you released your debut solo album, Face Behind the Face, in January 2006. Yeah. And that's gone into the Canadian Top 100 sales chart as well. You had 3 singles as well, yeah. Butterflies, Desensitized, yeah?
Wow, you're bringing back memories. Yes, so I signed, what happened essentially was we went independent with that album. I put my own money because I had made some good coin, on what I did. And we put it out independently in Canada with, I think it was distributed by Fontana North, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, I think it was. And then, but we signed a deal with EMI Dubai. So because I was raised up in Dubai, we had, there was an interest from there, being Middle Eastern and Canadian. There was an interest for them when they heard Butterflies, because it was kind of Middle Eastern touch to it, but it's still R&B. And they were like, yo, we want this. I said, cool, we'll sign a deal. We signed a deal. My dad was my manager at the time too. And then it went gold. So Face Behind the Face, you can see it right here on the wall. It went the top one there. So it went gold. It went gold in Canada. In Dubai, in the Middle East at least. And then in Canada, we were nominated for Best Soul R&B Recording at the JUNOs. So I think I got a couple of JUNOs there, or nominations there, plus some awards. I can't remember. I have 13 total awards. So maybe it's one of them.
Excellent.
Yeah.
So I'm here with Karl Wolf, multiple winner, 2-time JUNO Award nominee, Anglophone Song of the Year from SOCAN. Lots of great achievements. My name is Mark Belash. I'm president of the Canadian Music Expo. So then kind of 2007 hit, your second studio album, Bite the Bullet. The first single was Africa, and that was a remake of the Toto song, Africa, as well. So let's talk about that, because that made it to number 2, I think, in Canada, right? And it's still played on airways after all these years too. So talk about that. How does that work with, using another band's like sampling? Yeah. Obviously you had to have approval, the okay. How did that play out and so on?
It was a nightmare. But I didn't know, I'm a hungry artist, young artist. I've got a dream, I've got a vision, and I didn't stop. So it took me 2 years to buy the rights to that. A lot of money. I had to borrow money. I had to shoot the video myself. I'll tell you something, Mark, about my career. Nobody really believed in me at the beginning. Not a lot of people. It was really a tough one. It was like, if I don't get the juice and I don't get that energy and prove it, no one's gonna buy into it. Do you understand? Because they didn't. They were just like, it's not gonna work. All my career, I've always had, it's not gonna work. It's not gonna work. It's not gonna work. It's not gonna work. I hated hearing it. I'm like, where I can't say words right now, but I was like, no, watch this, So I had to do a lot of business and, soul searching as well. I had to really get my business up to par. I think that's what I contribute some of my success to, or at least the main moments of my success, due to business strategies that I put together. Music was always something that people were interested in, but for some reason, the executives and the labels wouldn't give it a chance. Anyways, for Africa, obviously one of the best, in my opinion, one of the best songs ever written. I was like, yo, I love this song. And I made like 40 different versions of it before it became the version you guys know. So I started off just doing a complete carbon copy of it. And then from there on, it just started going more R&B, more hip hop, then dance hall. I was like, because I was in the clubs a lot too. And I was seeing what people are, you got to have your finger on the pulse. You got to know what, people are into. So I would go to the clubs and test it out. That's how I did it. I had a friend who owned a club, and I would go to his club and I'd be like, before they opened up, I'm like, can you play the record? I just want to hear how it sounds in the club. So I was mixing that record myself, the kick, the snare, the way it hits, and I was always wanted it punchy. So my whole concept was, how do I make this in a dirtier, grimier way? Because it's such a beautiful song, but if you put it out the same way, the people of today won't get it. They won't care for it. It's just almost too soft, if that makes any sense. Even though it's a beautiful song. So I had to harden it a little bit. And I did that, mixed it in. It worked really well, and borrowed my own money, put it out there against all odds. And it went to number 1 in many markets, number 2 on the Billboard, top 3 for like 40 weeks. It was insane. It was a huge hit for me. And it started Karl Wolf as people know.
Yeah. And it's one of those songs that you hear it today. It's as if it was just released now, right? It's not even, doesn't even feel like it's been around for that long, right? It's like, so why did you pick that song? Like, of the tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of songs that had been released over the years, why that particular song?
The way it made me feel in the harmonies, the way the harmonies made me feel in the chorus, just the I thought it was extremely genius, just the way that it kept on building harmonies. Gonna take a lot to drag me away from you. There's nothing that a man no more could ever do. I've blessed the rains. It almost like you just kept on stacking harmonies. I thought that was so cool, because usually songs, you would kind of, hear a chorus and the harmonies would either all be there or it'll be just a single track with one harmony. It wouldn't be like the growth process. I just thought it was really touching. And when I was a kid, I was like 10 years old when I first heard it, and I was in Beirut, Lebanon when I heard it, and it made me feel something. And I wanted people to feel that feeling that I had in the way that I can maybe hopefully make them feel today. And I think I accomplished some of that.
Yeah. No, I grew up on that song too, right? The Toto version, right? And then hearing your one, it's like, oh, this is kind of cool. This is a good remake of, you're obviously your own style, right? Your own uniqueness to it, and brought it up to date, because you listen to the old version and you go, wow, that's like 70s, 80s, and it's like it needs something more, a little bit more current. So it peaked at #1 on the iTunes charts. Stayed at #2 for 4 further weeks on the chart. This is going back to 2009. And, obviously your most successful song topped the Much Music Top 30 Countdown charts. You found success in Japan as well. It's kind of one of those songs that it's kind of like an international flavor, right? You don't think it may even be a Canadian that has done it, right? It could be from Europe, the States, really anywhere, right?
Yeah, what? What's interesting, Mark, sorry to interject, but I recall at the time that even the labels, when I had Africa ready to go, and I met with all the heads of all the labels of every major label in Canada, they didn't want it. They didn't think it would work. I mean, I hate to say that, but that's really the reality. They were, in fact, they were giving me excuses, sort of like, no one's doing remakes. What is that? What are you doing? Remember, today there are playlists on Spotify that are called dance covers. Like there's a movement of people remaking songs. That, even with movies. Yeah. But at the time, it was such a new concept that everyone was a little afraid to touch it. And so I had to go solo, and do it independently, unfortunately, until it broke top 30 in Canada. At that point, Dean Cameron, rest in peace, amazing. Dean Cameron from EMI Music, who's the president of EMI, called me and said, Karl, we want this song. We're sorry we didn't jump on it. We love you. Let's get it. Let's give you a record deal. And then the rest is really history. They took me from independent to a major artist.
That's great. Congratulations on the success. So then now you created a management company as well. So now you manage new artists as well.
Yeah. We went into that. Lone Wolf Entertainment is the main mother company. And then we've had different divisions, record company, management company as well. It's really interesting. It's really a different world to manage artists. It's not something that I'm excited about, because I'll tell you something, Mark, it's very hard to control people. Do you understand? It's not that that's my will, but it's hard I can control myself, put it that way. So as an artist, Karl, wake the hell up, get your ass in the studio. Like, I can convince myself, you understand? And it's hard to do that with artists. I'm busy today, I'm working on this. It's like their agendas are not all focused. And in my opinion, success comes one of two ways. One, hustle, work your ass off and then win. Two, you're lucky and blessed, like you've got the nicest voice on the planet, Celine Dion style. Even then she had to work. But I'm saying you're either a virtuoso genius or you work your ass off.
Right.
And I was the latter.
So you've had your longtime manager, Pascal, who's worked with you a long time. I know there's musicians that watch today. So what would you say? How do you choose a manager? How would you go about choosing a manager if you had to start over again? Obviously you've had a great relationship with Pascal, but what advice would you give to new musicians who are thinking, hey, they need a manager, or when do you know you need a manager?
Ready for this one? It's probably an answer you don't expect. The manager chooses you. The marriage just happens. This is the problem with a lot of artists today who are starting off, and I've realized that with working with them. They want a certain manager. I want the best manager. I want this guy. I want that guy. It doesn't work that way, because the manager has to fall in love with your art. They have to fall in love with what you do, and they have to believe in it as much as you do. And you can't convince anyone of that unless they're actually convinced. So they have to seek you out, sort of. And that's kind of how it worked with Pascal. it was serendipitous in a way. And we've been working together for 12, 13 years. And it's been great. I mean, he's a great guy. He's, you know, he's loyal, respectful. I'm loyal to him, respectful to him. You know, it's like a best friend, and you learn to find respect for each other. This is really, because it's working with anyone is very tough. Marriages are tough. You devote your life to someone, and then the people get divorced in 5 years. It's not easy. So it's sort of the same thing. And you learn to just have a lot of respect, and you know where your territory is. That's your territory. And loyalty is key. A lot of people are not loyal. That's very, like, anytime they get something bigger, they'll step all over someone and go to the next bigger thing. I never did that. I didn't care for that. You know what I told Pascal? I said, if we grow together. That's how it works. Even if we get a huge deal, even if the biggest manager says, Karl, I want you. I'm like, yeah, but that's my right-hand man. We're growing together. That's important.
That's great. Great advice. So now, you know, you've kind of come back 2020, you're collaborating with Rayshawn. You were featured on a track, Dubai. So it seems like you're kind of taking a step back to your heritage and your Lebanese background, right? And you seem to be kind of, you were on Star Academy that was broadcast on Lebanese Broadcasting Corporation.
Yeah.
You know, maybe talk about that. Like, what, you know, are you feeling more connected with your background, and you want to be closer to that? Is that kind of where you see yourself going?
Well, that's how I started my career, essentially. That's where I got all the buzz. The whole buzz started off in the Middle East. It was during message boards. I don't know if you remember, back in the day, there was message boards. It wasn't Instagram. It wasn't Facebook or anything. So there was a thing called message boards, and people went crazy when I released Butterflies, which was a very Middle Eastern sounding track, but with English lyrics and like an R&B sensibility. And that really made people pay attention to me. That gave me sort of a base. But especially recently, I think, with what's going on in Lebanon and you know, the explosion that happened, especially the economic situation there, plus, you know, there's civil unrest, and there's always something, revolution, there's corrupt, politicians or whatever. I felt like I need to support as well. You know what I mean? So I was part of an organization, Lebanon Strong, you know, and other organizations to help fund and help, you know, people there, from music to even just surviving. So it's been kind of a plight for me for the past decade, to be honest. But music-wise, I'm going everywhere. I mean, I've got my new single, Getaway, that's doing so well, you know, around the world on Spotify in Canada. I've got a new album coming out on April 16th, around that time. The whole vibe has changed. I'm going into more dance, EDM world, like this whole, I love it. TikTok is blowing up. So there's a whole, it's funny. I've been through 3 different generations of platforms, you know, with music. It's really interesting.
Yeah, it's definitely changed a lot over the years, hasn't it? And then
Absolutely.
you just released Not Too Late as well, a new single. You want to speak about that?
Yes. So Not Too Late. Okay, so the way my new strategy is working is my TikTok is at 140,000 followers. So what I do is I basically show people how I produce songs in the studio. And they love that. Like, they love the process. And with that, it goes in parallel with making my album, because I'm in the process of making my album anyways. So I kind of show the song. Let's say I'm working on Not Too Late, for example. I play Not Too Late. I show them how I produced it. And then I release the single a month later or 2-3 weeks later. Same thing with Getaway. With the album, it's exactly the same concept. So it's almost like I'm doing my own market research with TikTok and see what works and what doesn't. And it's working. It's a cool little trick.
Yeah, well, I mean, iTunes, Spotify, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. What's your favorite? Do you have a favorite? Do you just? I know you've been on all of them, a lot of them, right?
You have to be on all, man. It's just one of those things. You know, I look at these platforms as a business marketing tool. I look at them as marketing tools. I don't look at them as just a social network. However, I would say Instagram is my favorite for socially. You know, that's more of a social network. TikTok is more, I would say, business oriented, you know, because you could really test market your songs. Spotify is so important. The followers there are so important because that's your bread and butter, essentially. Yeah, man.
That's great. And you did this cool duet with Chrissy Pratt as well on TikTok. So,
Lebanese Canadian.
Yeah. So, you know, make sure if you're watching, you should check that out. It's on Karl's I believe it's on your Spotify, or it's on your TikTok, and also on your Facebook. I think we've lost Karl there for a second with video and audio, but hopefully we'll come back here soon. Lots of cool questions. If Karl, if you want to, come back to where you were. I've lost your audio and video here for a second here, but if you're just joining, my name is Mark Belaish. I'm president of the Canadian Music Expo, speaking with Karl Wolf. Great story, just some background about how he got his career going, moving to Canada, and the chance he took on trying to get the rights to Toto's Africa, and how that became #2 in Billboard and across Canada and around the world, which was fantastic. So just trying to wait to see if we can get Karl back here on audio and video. Hopefully we can come back soon. If you are just joining as well to the Canadian Music Expo, you can certainly visit the expo area. Don't leave yet. Give us a couple minutes here to try to get Karl back on. We've still got a few more minutes, but we will be ending around 10 after 2 o'clock Eastern time, which is another 30 minutes away. We tack on an additional 10 minutes off to the end of the event just to get that rolling as well. And we also have some networking area, and looks like Karl's coming back in here, so we'll get him back on here. And we do have, hey Karl, thanks.
Sorry about that. Someone called me. I guess it just signs you out.
Oh, I see.
Sorry about that.
Modern technology, right?
Yeah, exactly. I'm on my phone, right? So.
Yes. So I was just saying about your, what we were just talking about TikTok before you left, but just kind of like what you see the future is with TikTok as a fan. I mean, there's so many ways to connect with musicians, but you know what the biggest challenge is, and I hear this from fans all the time, and I'm not a musician myself. I'm just a music fan. I love music. So you end up going to a show. I mean, you can see the musicians' social media, their videos and so on. You go to a show, then they disappear in the night, then you never really get to connect with them. So what would you say, if you're a music fan, how would you connect with your favorite musician? Because it's hard to do, right? It's hard to, connect with them and have a conversation even with them, just one-on-one. What would you say?
You know what? I don't know about other artists, but I'm very in touch with all my fans. I mean, anybody who writes me on Instagram, says what's up, gives me some positive energy. Obviously, if you're negative, I'm going to ignore you, you know what I mean, regularly. But generally, any positive energy, I'm taking it in, I'm listening to you, I'm reading, I'm saying, hey, that's really cool. I appreciate you loving my music. So I think Instagram is the way. DM, a comment, something, a good comment, all that stuff. I mean, we're so approachable these days, I think. I don't think even like guys like Jason Derulo, just hit me up on TikTok, just giving me fire emojis, like showing me support for my stuff. I mean, we're talking even the biggest of the biggest artists are communicative, on social media.
Yeah, and I found that I meet a lot of musicians. We've been doing the Music Expo for 5 years now.
Wow.
And there's certain musicians that they get it, right? They know what they need to do. They know that they have to be in touch with their fans. It's not just like a wall between them and I don't care about my fans. It's the ones that really connect with their fans that make it, right? Like, especially in today's world. Maybe it was different 10, 20 years ago or whatever, but in today's world, you have to build that relationship, because if not you, there's somebody else around the corner who's going to connect, and they're going to be more supportive.
100%. I think that's definitely moving towards that direction. But a huge, perfect example of that was Michael Jackson, the king of pop, the king of music, essentially. I mean, he loved his fans. You know what I mean? Like, he loved that connection. He just was passionate about music. And I take cues from that sort of thing. Drake is like that too. There's a lot of artists today that really, appreciate their where they came from and their fans.
Yeah. That's true. So 2 more things. One is, because we only have a couple minutes left here, but one is if you can share the story about how the name Wolf came about, or Karl Wolf came around.
Oh, yeah. Long story. So my real name is Karl, but it's not Wolf. And when I was growing up in Dubai, essentially, I was on the basketball team. I was, a starter on my high school basketball team. And there was a movie at the time not at the time, a little earlier, called Teen Wolf. And he was the shortest guy on the team, and he would make the fastest plays. So people would call me the Wolf. I was like shortest guy on the team, point guard, a fast player. And, it just caught on. And then it went from Teen Wolf or Wolf to Karl Wolf.
That's cool. Great story. Well, look, anything else you want to promote, Karl? Like what's coming up in the next year, a couple of years for you? And
absolutely. I mean, so many big things, man. If you guys are not following me, follow me on my Instagram. It's Karl Wolf with a S at the end. Follow me on my TikTok. That's really important. If you want to hear new music and stuff that I'm producing on the spot, it's TikTok. I've got an album coming out April 16th or around end of April. Dope album. I'm very excited about it. I've been working on it for about a year now. With a big single too, big videos. I'm doing 3 more videos this year. So I'm just taking over. Oh, I'm doing a tour next year too. So keep an eye out for that. We're doing a full tour. Very excited.
Is that across Canada, North America?
Worldwide.
Worldwide. Yeah. Fantastic. So watch for that.
Hopefully, right? Hopefully.
Hopefully, yeah. Hopefully. Well, there's a lot of hope right now with the vaccines and everything else, of course. So really great to hear your story, Karl. And thanks for taking the time to come on here and share. And, check out Karl's music because it's so great. It's not just, one album. There's so much. There's a great history there and the new stuff coming on with TikTok and so on. So make sure to connect with Karl as well. Great guy. And wish you a lot of luck, Karl, and moving forward this year, next year, and so on. And I'm going to be back on here on the main stage in about 10 minutes just to wrap things up. So you've got about 10 minutes to check out some of the expo area. There's a lot of other music on there, exhibitors and sponsors and so on. There's still time to check out the networking and connect with other musicians and music fans. And we will be back. I'll be back in about 10 minutes or so here on the main stage. When you see the light flash on the stage, you'll know I'm back on. And Karl, again, thank you so much. Best of luck. Stay safe. And best wishes here. Here's the better 2021 ahead.
Absolutely. Thank you, Mark, for having me. I appreciate it.
All right, Karl. Take care. Thanks so much.
Bye, guys.
Take care.